This is the Bootime GT73 Pro electric dirt bike, and right away, the first thing that stands out is its look. It reminds me a lot of those mini dirt bikes you see in motocross videos. Kind of an aggressive, sharp design with thick, chunky 25-inch fat tires and a pretty robust steel frame. It definitely feels more like a motorcycle than a regular bicycle. There's a long, flat seat, lots of motoplastics, and that big battery box in the middle that almost looks like a gas tank, which I actually think looks kind of cool. When I first got the bike, I was a bit on the fence. You know how it is. There's always a worry when dropping decent money on something you mostly have to assemble yourself, especially one of these electric off-road bikes that you don't see all over the street yet. But I'd been craving something with more power and better off-road handling, so the GT73 Pro caught my eye. As soon as I got the bike out of the box, what really impressed me was how much of it was already put together. It's basically all there with the major stuff done. You don't need to be a mechanic, just basic tools and a bit of common sense. Took me about half an hour, but I had to double check and retighten some bolts because a few were a little loose. If you're not used to working with bikes at all, I'd say take your time and don't skip checking the bolts. These things aren't featherweights. This model lands at around 120 pounds, which is heavy compared to standard e-bikes, so it's not something you want falling over. From my experience after about 33 miles of riding, it really does hold up well for rough use. The steel frame is solid, and the spokes are thick, so I never felt like it was close to bottoming out, even when I dropped off curbs or hit light trails. The 25 by 3-inch knobby tires are built for tougher terrain: snow, gravel, grass, and a bit of sand. The suspension surprised me the most, honestly. The rear shock and front fork do a great job soaking up bumps. Much better than I expected for an e-bike in this price range. I'd say if you're looking for something to use on beat-up roads or unpaved areas, it's perfect for that. One of the key features for me is speed and power, and I know that's what a lot of people are curious about. The GT73 Pro sports a 60-volt system with a 3000 W motor, although rated for 2000 to 2400 W sustained, and it's quick. The brand says it can hit up to 50 mph, but let's be real. Most people will experience more like 31 to 37 mph on the flat, if you remove the factory limiters. That's still way faster than a typical e-bike, and when you click into turbo mode, it gets to those speeds pretty quick. If you're newer to e-bikes, just a heads up. This kind of speed is not legal for normal street use in many places, so keep that in mind. Technically, you might need plates or registration, depending on where you live. Now, I'll be honest, the throttle does have a little bit of lag. It's not super jerky, but you do notice it. If you're expecting instant takeoff, it's not quite that. The pedal assist, which basically means the bike gives you motor help while you're pedaling, goes from nothing to nearly full speed, which can feel weird at first. So if you're hoping for a gradual, gentle start from the assist, this isn't really designed for that style. It's made for hitting the throttle hard and moving fast. Speaking of batteries, Bootime gives you 2 removable packs, with each at 60 volts and 18 amp hours, so you get good range. On average, I covered about 33 miles, mostly using the throttle before I dropped to about 60% on both batteries. I'd say you can make it 40 miles on one charge if you ride moderately, or closer to 75 if you use a lot of pedal assist. But I mostly like to ride in turbo mode. Swapping the batteries is not the most enjoyable part. The top battery is tricky to slide in, and I end up fumbling and chipping some paint here and there. The storage compartment also looks big in photos, but in my opinion, it's just enough for small stuff, like a lock and maybe a drink bottle if you squeeze it. For the display, you've got a 5-inch LCD right in the middle of the bars that reads power, battery, and speed. It's bright and super easy to read both day and night. And I like that it's NFC, near field communication, so you tap a card to turn it on. It's a small but cool touch that feels a little more secure. When it comes to controls, everything is on the bars and clear. There are 3 riding modes: Eco, Standard, and Turbo. Eco is for stretching your range, Standard is kind of in the middle, and Turbo is just all-out speed. The bike includes headlights that are bright for night riding, blinkers, and a loud horn. Everything mostly works as advertised, though I would have liked blinkers that are a bit more visible sideways, not just from the back. The brakes are a mixed bag. Hydraulic brakes are what you want on a bike this heavy and fast. but on this model, I feel like they could have made them a bit more powerful. You have to plan a little bit ahead when stopping, especially at higher speeds or going downhill. I tried a couple of emergency stops, and it definitely takes longer to come to a full halt than on lighter bikes. 4-piston calipers sound tough, but on this weight, they're just about adequate. If you want to stop like you're on a motorcycle, a brake upgrade might be worth thinking about. What really makes or breaks bikes like this is how they ride. And from my experience, the GT73 Pro handles both rough terrain and streets surprisingly well. The wide handlebars give you solid control, especially when things get bumpy or sketchy, though this does mean tight U-turns or city corners can feel a little awkward. Partly because the turning radius isn't as tight as a regular bicycle. I'm a bit taller, so the higher seat works for me, but I honestly think riders under 5'9" might have trouble flat-footing it at stops, especially since the whole bike sits so high and heavy. Maneuvering it in a small garage or around obstacles is definitely more work.